Imagine for a second you're dumpster diving on a freezing January night
Oh, wow.
in New Mexico.
Okay.
You're expecting to find junk,
Yeah. Okay.
maybe something you can resell to make a little extra cash.
Uh-huh.
And instead, you hear the faintest of cries
Oh my God.
coming from a black trash bag.
Oh no.
What you uncover is going to send shockwaves across the nation.
That's awful. I mean, that sounds scary.
It is.
Like just the thought of that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Especially in January.
Yeah, in Hobbs, New Mexico.
So it's like freezing.
Yeah, so this is the story of baby Saul, a newborn, who was abandoned in a dumpster,
Oh wow.
left to die on a freezing night.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to look into this case. We're going to go beyond the headlines,
Okay.
using court transcripts, 911 calls, news reports.
Mm-hmm.
We even have excerpts from a popular true crime podcast that covered this story.
Okay, great.
Our mission today is to go beyond the headlines
All right.
and try to understand the why behind this unthinkable act.
Yeah, I mean, how could someone do something like that?
Exactly.
It just seems so cruel.
What would drive a young woman, barely an adult herself,
Yeah.
to abandon her own child
Yeah.
in such a callous way?
Mm-hmm.
So this case really is a tangled web of psychology,
Right.
societal pressures,
Okay.
and the ever-present eye of technology.
Yeah, it seems like nowadays, everywhere you turn, there's a camera.
Exactly.
Always watching
Yeah.
Big Brother.
Yeah, so we're going to see how security camera footage became a key piece of evidence.
Okay.
We're also going to analyze the interrogation of the mother, 18-year-old Alexis Avila.
Uh-huh.
Her interrogation is really interesting.
Oh, okay.
It revealed disturbing insights into her state of mind,
Okay.
and we'll also see how the legal system grappled with the complexities of this case.
All right, so we're gonna go back to the very beginning.
And
Then-
let's rewind to that night in Hobbs, New Mexico.
Okay.
Michael, Hector, and April were out dumpster diving.
Okay.
This is something they did pretty regularly. It was a way to make ends meet,
Right.
find some hidden treasures in other people's trash.
Yeah, make a little extra money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This night was like any other night. It was routine for them
Uh-huh.
until they heard those faint cries.
Oh, gosh.
At first, they thought it might be a kitten,
Okay.
something small and abandoned.
Right.
But the weight of the bag,
Yeah.
the way it felt, told a very different story.
So they knew it was something bigger.
April, who was keeping watch from their truck,
Okay.
she heard the cries too, and she rushed over to see what was going on.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine the shock,
Oh, my gosh.
the sheer terror of opening that bag
Yeah.
and finding a newborn baby
Oh, my.
wrapped in a bloody towel,
Oh.
still connected by the umbilical cord?
Oh, wow.
It's the kind of scene that haunts you.
Oh, I can only imagine.
The baby, who we now know as Saul,
Uh-huh.
was ice cold.
Oh, my God.
He was clearly showing signs of hypothermia.
Yeah.
It's a miracle he was even alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael immediately dialed 911.
Okay, good.
And, their quick thinking, that instinct to act, undoubtedly saved baby Saul's life.
Yeah. So lucky that they were there
Yeah.
and that they heard him.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my gosh.
The 911 call is chilling.
Oh, I bet.
You can hear the panic in their voices,
Yeah.
the disbelief,
Uh,
the desperate urgency as they try to describe what they've found,
yeah.
the baby's condition, the need for help.
Right.
The dispatcher guides them through those initial steps,
Okay.
trying to keep them calm,
Right.
instructing them on how to check the baby's breathing,
Uh-huh.
how to keep him warm until paramedics arrive.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the incredible work of first responders
Right.
and the power of human compassion in the face of unimaginable circumstances.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It really is.
That there's still good people out there
Yeah.
that are willing to help,
Yeah.
a complete stranger.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really heartwarming.
It is remarkable that baby Saul survived being left in a dumpster
Yeah.
in those freezing temperatures.
Uh-huh.
But how did the police even begin to piece together what happened?
Yeah. How do you even start an investigation like that?
Right, and how did they find the person responsible?
Yeah.
It seemed like such a random, heartless act.
Right.
Well, that's where the role of technology comes in.
Okay.
Security cameras from a nearby store called Riggs Outfitters
Uh-huh.
captured a white car pulling up to the dumpsters the day before.
Okay.
The footage shows a woman getting out of the car, quickly throwing a black trash bag into the dumpster and driving away.
Oh, gosh.
So that grainy security footage, which quickly spread like wildfire across the internet,
Oh, yeah, I bet.
became absolutely crucial to the investigation.
Okay.
It gave police a clear image of the suspect or vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately led them to 18-year-old Alexis Avila.
Oh, wow.
The owner of Riggs Outfitters, Joe Embrielli, was actually contacted by the police initially because they thought there might have been a break-in at his store.
Oh, wow.
He was shocked and horrified
Yeah,
when he found out the true reason they needed to review his security footage.
I bet.
Imagine having to go back and watch those tapes, knowing that a helpless baby was in that dumpster.
Oh, gosh.
It's a sobering reminder of how even routine security footage,
Right.
something we often take for granted,
Yeah.
can be instrumental in solving crimes.
Yeah.
Especially in this digital age where cameras seem to be everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. They're everywhere you look.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah, but in this case, it was a good thing.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, because it'll bring justice for baby Saul.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, and we're just getting started.
Oh, okay.
We're going to delve deeper into Alexis's interrogation
All right.
and examine the psychological factors
Oh,
that may have contributed to her actions.
interesting.
So stay with us.
I'm hooked. And this is really just the beginning. The interrogation of Alexis Avila is where the story takes a truly unsettling turn.
You're right. The interrogation is fascinating. It's all captured on video,
Yeah.
so we get to see her demeanor,
Right.
hear her tone of voice,
Right.
which adds another layer to trying to understand her thought process.
Absolutely. At first, Alexis denies even knowing she was pregnant until the day before she gave birth.
Oh, wow.
She claims she went to the clinic for stomach pains.
Okay.
They took a urine sample, and suddenly she's told she's about to have a baby.
But if she went to a clinic for stomach pains, wouldn't she have considered pregnancy as a possible cause?
You would think so, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The detective confronts her with information from her friends who say she knew about the pregnancy for months, and her reaction to this is very telling.
Yeah.
Instead of denying it outright, she fixates on one particular friend, Walker, that the detective mentions. It's almost like she's trying to discredit the detective's sources instead of addressing the fact that she was knowingly pregnant possibly for quite some time.
Yeah. It does seem like she's grasping at straws there.
And it gets more disturbing the way she describes giving birth, using phrases like, "it came out," or "I thought it was poop. I just left it where it was." It's incredibly detached, devoid of the emotion you'd expect from a mother who just gave birth.
That's a really good point, even if she was in denial. Childbirth is such an intense physical and emotional experience. It's hard to imagine feeling so disconnected from it.
Exactly. And throughout the interrogation, she keeps repeating that she was in a panic, using her age, the fact that she had just turned 18 as a justification for her actions.
Yeah, well, I can understand panic in such a situation. It's hard to accept that as an excuse for abandoning a newborn, even at 18.
Yeah.
Right from wrong.
You're absolutely right. As the detective points out, to her edge doesn't absolve you of responsibility.
Yeah.
But there's one moment in the interrogation that really sent chills down my spine. The detective asks her how she would feel if the baby had died.
Oh, gosh.
Her response, nothing.
That's chilling. I can see why that would be so disturbing.
It paints a picture of someone completely lacking in empathy, devoid of that maternal instinct.
Yeah.
However, just a few moments later, the detective tells her the baby is alive and healthy.
Okay.
Suddenly, she expresses relief and says, "If the baby's okay, I want it."
That sudden shift is really jarring. Do you think her wanting the baby was about genuine maternal feelings or more about trying to lessen the legal trouble she was in?
It's impossible to know for sure what was going on in her mind, but it does raise the question of whether her desire for the baby was about genuine maternal feelings or a desperate attempt to improve her situation now that she knew the baby survived.
This brings us to a really important question. Could Alexis have been experiencing what's known as pregnancy denial?
Pregnancy denial is a complex psychological phenomenon where a woman, despite physical evidence, completely blocks out the reality of being pregnant. It's often linked to immense fear shame or an inability to cope with the implications of an unplanned pregnancy.
And in Alexis's case, there are hints that pressure from her family might have played a role. She mentions being terrified of her mother's reaction, worried about being hated or disappointing her parents.
It's certainly possible that a strict family dynamic coupled with the fear of derailing her life just as she was finishing high school could have contributed to a state of denial. We have to remember this happened in New Mexico, a state with safe haven laws that allow mothers to surrender their newborns anonymously, without fear of prosecution, if she felt truly trapped and desperate. That was an option she could have chosen.
It's heartbreaking to think that there are resources and legal protections in place, but they don't always reach the people who need them most, especially when fear and societal pressures cloud judgment.
That's a really important point, and it leads us to the next phase of this story, the legal proceedings.
So what were the specific charges against Alexis, and how did her defense team approach this case?
Alexis was charged with attempted first-degree murder and child abuse resulting in great bodily harm. Her defense attorneys argued that pregnancy denial was the driving force behind her actions. They claimed she didn't intend to kill the baby and was simply acting out of panic.
Didn't they also bring up the fact that she had taken 2 pregnancy tests months earlier with conflicting results, one positive and one negative?
Yes, they used that to bolster their argument that she was confused and in disbelief about the pregnancy. However, the prosecution countered by highlighting that she had confided in some friends about the pregnancy and deliberately concealed it from her family. They argued that the calculated way she disposed of the baby, placing it in multiple trash bags, indicated premeditation and a disregard for the infant's life.
It sounds like a classic case of he said, she said, with both sides presenting compelling arguments.
It was definitely a complex case that sparked a lot of public debate. Protests erupted outside the courthouse as people grappled with the question of how to hold Alexis accountable while also considering her mental state and the factors that might have influenced her choices.
What was the outcome?
The jury ultimately found Alexis guilty on both counts. It was a verdict that underscored the severity of her actions and reinforced the societal expectation that mothers, regardless of their age or circumstances, have a fundamental responsibility to protect their children.
What about the baby's father, Stephen? Where does he fit into all of this?
Stephen, who was a year younger than Alexis, was completely blindsided by the situation. He told reporters that Alexis initially informed him she was pregnant, but later claimed to have miscarried a potpourri. He had no idea she was still pregnant and was absolutely devastated when he learned about the baby being found in the dumpster.
That's heartbreaking. It's hard to imagine the range of emotions he must have gone through. So what happened to baby Saul in the aftermath of this ordeal?
Incredibly, baby Saul survived his traumatic entry into the world with no significant lasting injuries. He was placed in the custody of his father, Stephen, who named him Saul. Stephen's family rallied around them, providing a loving and supportive home for the baby.
That's wonderful to hear. Amidst all the darkness in this story, it's a ray of hope that baby Saul is thriving. And what about Alexis? What was her sentence?
Taking into account her young age and potential mental health issues, the judge sentenced her to 18 years with 2 years suspended. She will likely be released when she's 34 years old. But the weight of her actions and the separation from her son will undoubtedly stay with her for the rest of her life. Her lawyers have filed an appeal challenging various aspects of the trial, but it's unlikely to erase the impact this case has had on everyone involved.
This case is so disturbing, yet it also raises crucial questions about our society. It shines a light on the very real phenomenon of pregnancy denial, a coping mechanism that can have dire consequences.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that this isn't about ignorance or malice, but rather a complex interplay of fear, shame, and an inability to process the overwhelming reality of an unplanned pregnancy.
It also highlights the critical need for open communication, especially within families. If Alexis had felt safe confiding in her parents, if she had felt supported rather than judged, maybe this tragedy could have been prevented.
I agree. We also can't ignore the role of societal pressures. Young women often face immense pressure to conform to certain expectations, and an unplanned pregnancy can feel like a complete derailment. We need to foster a culture where young women facing these challenges are met with support and understanding, not stigma and judgment.
The legal aspects of the case are also thought-provoking. The justice system had to balance accountability for a horrific act with the understanding that Alexis's psychological state and other factors likely played a significant role in her choices. It's a reminder that sentencing isn't always about punishment, but also about rehabilitation, deterrence, and safeguarding society.
This case transcends being simply a true crime story. It reflects broader societal issues, the stigma surrounding teen pregnancy, the lack of comprehensive sex education, and the gaps in our social safety net.
It's a powerful reminder that we need to do more to ensure young women have access to accurate information resources and non-judgmental support so they feel empowered to make informed choices.
The story of Alexis Avila and baby Saul is a stark reminder of the human capacity for both heartbreaking cruelty and incredible resilience. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, examine our biases, and consider how we can contribute to a more compassionate and supportive world.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a truly complex and thought-provoking case. We encourage you to continue exploring these themes on your own research. Pregnancy denial. Delve into the resources available to young women facing difficult choices and engage in open conversations about these critical issues. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp.